Kiosk Radio.
Time has come for us now.
It's
Fantasies.
Introducing Renni.
Facing me, I see wind turbines. They're moving in the wind. I hear children play in the field next to my dad's house. Their voices reach to me in echoes, floating in the light of the fading afternoon. I sit and try not to think. I am entering the interior room. What's love? How does love taste? Have you known love? Love takes courage. Des enfants assis sur des bottes de foin tirées par un tracteur crient dans ma direction. Je les salue de la main. Il faut que je plisse les yeux pour les voir dans la lumière éclatante. Ils me font des grands signes avec leurs bras et leurs mains. Allô? Allô? La radio joue dans la maison d'en face. J'entends des échos de voix dissipés par la voix.
Yeah. Clap.
1, 2, 3.
Clap.
I love that.
Il est 7 heures du soir. J'existe vraiment.
Oh, nice. Nice questions. Oh, nice questions. What I really appreciate about you is that you don't waste. I never see you with a fresh piece of paper, and you write. Yeah, I like that too. Okay, so who wants to start? And maybe should we? Okay, so who wants to start? And maybe should we cut the music? Beautiful.
Transition.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, is there any preference for who wants to start? I don't mind. Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to join this interview, coming all the way from Antwerp. And would you please just introduce yourself and a bit about your artistic practice?
Yes, so I'm Renni Somers. I come from Antwerp, originally from the Kemp of Limmeren, a really tiny village, where my artistic work finds its its origin. It comes from living in a Flemish Belgian house, and that's what I write about, what I draw about, and yeah, just living life in the creative world in Antwerp. Yeah.
Yeah, living life will make you produce art, to be honest. Great. What about a Belgian house? That's too complicated to answer with words. But your piece of writing that inspired us to get in touch with you for this episode about repetition was that Ariana, our mutual friend, told us that one of these pieces that you've written or are working on is about repetition in daily life and how that's a performance of the self. And I'm just getting these key words from her, but I would love for you to maybe tell us more about what that means and what that piece was all about.
Mm-hmm. So the piece that you're talking about, it's the kitchen table. It is a work about living your daily life as a sort of performance. Every time you come home, you do the same steps, you do the same thing with minor changes. And everything has its place, everything has its purpose. It keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. And that's where I found like this thread that I wanted to write about. Maybe it was a bit more of a frustration that I also had. I was doing the same kind of things over and over without ever having this change. And it was actually gnawing at me. It was this constant repetition of daily, boring, mundane things.
Interesting. Yeah, I was thinking about. I'm curious. Yeah, like, was there like a specific incident, or was it just kind of all of a sudden you just realized?
I think what also is a nice touch, the sounds, turning on the, how do you say it,
The
kitchen,
filter,
yeah,
like
the filter.
air.
It's so loud, and every night you have to hear that every time. And I was cooking every day, and then I got this pattern that I'm always cooking. I'm always cooking for my boyfriend or my friends, and then I was like, damn, I'm doing this all over again.
And washing the dishes after.
And washing the dishes and cleaning up, and
every
then
day. Waking up.
Having
to put on clothes.
Showering, and commuting. It was also, I felt so stereotypically woman from like the 1950s, and I was like, I'm repeating the life of my mother, I'm repeating the life of my grandma, and I'm not doing anything about this. And then I wrote this piece, and I tried to get myself out of this hole.
Wow. So you're not only talking about repetition in daily tasks, but also repetition of generational patterns.
Yeah, it's a cultural repetition, I think, yeah. literary form of my art, it is, it's in a way also cathartic to write about it, because you can just write it down as it is happening. That's how I started to write The Kitchen Table. I was walking in and I took my phone and said, I am walking in. I see this, and this. I am now putting down my shoes at this spot of the room. Then I put my coats. Every step I marked down. And then I started to make the screenplay as a continuous story, and then also my thoughts behind every step I wrote down. It was almost like a crime scene that you have to do over.
Yeah, fascinating. When you were writing down the actions and your thoughts every day, would you describe those things as only changing slightly every day?
It is all, yeah.
And so that's kind of the sameness but difference in the repetitive tasks comes in. Like you're always going to have to take off your shoes and put them down, but where exactly you put them on the floor, slightly different. Yeah. Do your thoughts change with great difference day to day?
It depends if I have a good day or not. But sometimes I'm thinking also about a lot of other stuff. It is, it's not always this grand philosophical way of coming home. It is.
Where do I put my shoes?
Yeah, like, oh my God, my jacket.
The left side or the right side?
Yeah. So it was. At times, I felt a little bit crazy to write every step down, and taking this mundane task to such a different level of writing it down. I had like 10 papers about how I come home. That's crazy.
Hearing you say this though, like, do you think that repetition is good or bad? Like, are you trying to free yourself by creating this narrative in a sense, where then you notice it so then you can break free? Or
in a way, maybe, because I do want change, but I do feel like the ritual of coming home is such a beautiful thing. It's a deep breath kind of moment. I think it's something physical, it's mentally, it is. After a long day, I think that's the most beautiful thing about life, coming home. I love being home.
Just 2 moments ago, maybe 3, you just informed us about like your process of writing, and you were saying I was sitting there with my phone typing, and I really felt what I've learned of repetition from multiples like artists is like they're really anchored in the continuous present, like the present moment. Would you say the case for you? What is your mindset when you're typing on your phone, looking at the scene?
It is indeed the present. I do feel like I take this passenger role of looking at from an outsider perspective, and I put myself as the actor, I think. And then I think it's also much easier to reflect on every tiny detail that I do. And yeah.
I mean, there's so much magic in the mundane. I feel like that's what you're getting at. And that, whatever Norwegian author you were referencing. So that person does the same thing. And there's so many great artists who consider like, yeah, where the interesting thing lies in mundane things. And if you can write about that and get something out of that, then like that shows like that you think critically in some way. And so I think there's a lot to be said there. And I mean, our last episode was about repetition in music, and I can already see a lot of links in that, especially what you talked about, Maverick, in that episode. These songs that make you go into kind of a trance-like state where you don't really notice the changes that occur throughout the song, but if you were to skip from the beginning to the end, it would sound quite different. And this idea, that function of repetition, I see how they work in similar ways sometimes, that the same thing can happen in music that happens in your daily life. And like you were saying, culturally, which Miles talked about.
boredom interesting purposely, on purpose, yeah? Or you made like the boring became interesting? Yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, basically what you said, but do you guys read Karlov Naskar, this author, Dinos?
You always bring up the most obscure authors, and you're like, y'all know that
He's
one?
not super. He's maybe the most famous Norwegian author.
And then you always say something like that after, and then I feel like,
but he
I'm
does
not
that.
the dumb one here.
I would recommend though if because he literally makes fiction out of the most mundane things, but it's super interesting. But yeah, do you have an interest in making the mundane interesting?
I think so. It is. I think it's also a counter attack, I would say, to this very fast living that we do now. And that's also why I started to make art in this really slow way and using the mundane and the everyday life as an inspiration that I can draw endless amounts of components and put them together. Because the visual work that I do, I imitate random house objects.
You also do visuals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I studied the...
Yeah, I saw they're nice on your website.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us more about like your visual art aspect, maybe inspirations also. If
but the most inspiration I draw from, it's like the old house where your grandma lives, the textiles you see, the hand towels, the wallpaper, every sort of pattern that you see, I just imitate and try to link together a piece of a kind of story,
a narrative.
So your work is a lot about representing nostalgic aspects.
Yeah.
So that living in that Belgian house, and somehow you draw inspiration from that because it has this nostalgic factor.
Mm-hmm.
But that's different from my kitchen table, which is not really drawing. It's kind of drawing on how maybe those nostalgic artifacts are not glorified is the wrong word, but they are immortalized. And then your present moment, that's the reason nostalgia exists, is because in the present moment it doesn't feel as good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm wondering where you drew your inspiration from my kitchen table and like how that differs from the visual.
The kitchen table, it was indeed more of the present form. I'm trying to find the words.
Just like how mundane it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's right behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to this.
Yeah, it's this.
Like nothing.
It's nothing, but it's also. It is not ever changing, but it's also a little bit changing every day. It is just this living organism, I think, that's why I started to write about it, I think. I do feel the repetition is more guilty kind of feeling, because a lot of people don't want to end up like their parents, but eventually what they all say is you'll end up like your parents, or you're going to be like your parents. And I think that's also one thing in the kitchen table where I had to look at myself and have this understanding of I am maybe like my mother, I am maybe like my grandmother. I put myself into this role, and I can do a lot about it, but you feel kind of stuck in a way.
The more you repeat it, maybe the more you feel stuck doing it.
Yeah, but it's this root.
Stuck in a loop?
Stuck in a loop. Yeah, it is this constant repetition of I can do something about it, but now I feel discomfort maybe in this continuous thing. So the more you loop it, the more it's going to be much harder to get out.
But I guess you just said though, which I'm curious about. You're saying that like you choose it in a sense, but it's like, so you're saying that there is a free will in this instead of it being kind of like something that was given to you from the past or from your, who came before you. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it is. It's this. It's a cohesion in the two things, I think. You can do something about it. I do put myself in that role, but it's also kind of expected of me. So
who's expecting it? Like society or your family or your boyfriend?
I think this idea of being a good wife or a good girlfriend is expected from, well, not only myself, but the things you are taught or you hear about. You also want to be good in that role, I think, and it is something. It is not expected of me, but in this tiny part of our society, it is kind of expected. And to discard that completely, I think it's very hard. I think it is a role that I want to have, because I do like the sense of caring for someone. I like the feeling of it. I like the things you get back from it. It's the love, it's the care. It is something that also comes natural to me. So why wouldn't I want to do it? But then you get into that role and then you're frustrated. So that's also one thing that I had to dissect. Am I being honest with myself about this role? Do I really want that, or am I kind of mad about it?
Is your play a take on rumination, kind of? I sound like repetition for you, like as a syntactic aspect, like it is in the form of your creative world, but it's also like a part of your psychological logic way of being.
Yeah, of course. It was not only this act of performance, but it was also trying to explain something to myself, about myself, that I maybe did not know yet, or that I had to figure out while I was writing every step down.
So you were only able to become more aware of it, like, or by becoming very conscious of it, then you're able to put it in some sort of box or observable category that perhaps could be changed, or at least overcome. That's interesting, because I actually was wondering like how you even first thought to write it down, or you said before that you were just getting sick of, one day you just realized that you were repeating the same thing every day, but I feel like for a lot of people, they never realize. Like, the thing about something being repetitive, and that goes for music and in your daily tasks, is that the more you repeat it, the less you notice, or is that not the...
You're making reference to the psychological effects, it's like the mere exposure. The more you're exposed to something, the more you will tend to like it, and not to like it, but to get used to it, like to adapt, to accept it in your life.
It becomes a habit. Yeah, it's a habit forming.
Yeah, if repetition is so habit forming, like how did you even think to overcome it, or to be aware that it needs to be something to be overcome?
I think I've always been someone that observes a lot, and most of the time for half a year I did not listen to music because I needed to be alone with my thoughts.
That's super interesting, I think.
And everyone was saying, "You're raw dogging public transport," and I said, "That's."
I've been doing that lately too, because I guess going back to what you said about boredom, I'm actually trying to be more bored in my life because I'm kind of tired with having the algorithms, I guess. Like in a sense, when you're listening all the time, you're just distracting yourself.
Yeah, you are more aware of your surroundings, but I think boredom needs to have a comeback. A lot of people can't be bored, and I actually love being bored. Sometimes I just you have to lay on your couch or on the ground and just stare at the wall for like 50 minutes.
It's so therapeutic. It's almost a meditation.
Just not with any outsider perspective, and then all of a sudden you see things a little bit differently, and you can reminiscent about a day that was going on. I just every night I just try to lay without my phone and just think about what was happening into the day.
It's like I mean, this is not going to come out articulate, but like there's something about that, I guess, like repetition, distraction, boredom, imagination, or like, I don't know, seeing things with a clear eye. Like, I don't know, there's something to that kind of in a way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I guess you would think like to repeat something is like you would be bored, if you're repeating something, but actually that thing that you're repeating could just be like fun and distracting.
Yeah, and you can see new aspect of the thing you're observing. That's why I'm trying to... the second psychoacoustic effect, so I presented two psychoacoustic effects. The first is the mere exposure I just talked about, and the second is the verbal transformation. And some like scientists showed that if you play a loop of a word, like frenetically like that, you won't hear the word. Your brain will create like new meanings and new words out of you won't hear the original one. And I'm wondering if it's the same with like less strictly repeated stuff, but in the daily life you're exposed to some like stimulus, and then you see them on a new way the more you're exposed to them. And I think it's really beautiful to see it like that, really poetic.
Wait, so you're saying like instead of the thing becoming more mundane to you, like you repeat something but you watch it closely, like there's two different ways of repeating in a sense?
I think what he means is that like when you repeat something, the first aspect is that you might not notice it after a while, but the other is that you don't even recognize what you're doing, or like not only does it not really register after a while consciously, but it's also, it feels like it's not the same thing as it used to be because it's not a novel thing anymore. So every time you do it, you could be subconsciously approaching it differently, or it being a different activity.
By picking new details of the thing you're exposed to, and it can be anything. But it's not backed by science. Not sure. It's a theory of us now.
Do you ever pay attention to the way you like brush your teeth or something?
I actually do.
Same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I noticed something about the way I brush my teeth recently, and it's that I don't move my hand, I move my head.
Oh.
That's really funny. It's really funny.
Yeah.
You're working.
What about you? I'm working. Like, what's going on?
I have this thing. I have to start really in the back, and like at the top, and then work my way down.
Okay.
How do you know when you're finished brushing your teeth?
I try to count.
You count? It's one of those unspoken things for me. Sometimes I'm brushing my teeth for like 5 minutes.
You just
sometimes
know.
for 1. I'm like, now I'm done. be
passage
super nice.
you like that is repetitive. So
Or
we can play it.
you're the most impactful, or like something that really speaks to you from it. Talk your shit, and we'll turn off the music.
Or just recite the whole thing and then we. Or actually, yeah, maybe choose a part that's. Because I wouldn't want to just select a part that maybe you wouldn't want to.
I think the
Yeah, choose your
beginning-
fave.
guided by the knowledge we have gained from previous experiences. Everyday life is an ancient ritual, a dance of actions we repeat, guided by the knowledge we have gained from previous experiences. These moments of repetition come together as a silent act of love between two people. Daily life itself is art, an art created by the way we fill our days and the choices we make. What makes us human is art. Art of life, of creation, of experience, and of sharing. The ritual of coming home is so embedded in our daily lives that it happens without thought. Shoes are removed, placed carefully under a cabinet. Everything has its place and its reason. The TV in the corner flickers on, the remote clicking softly through the air. The screen flashes briefly before filling with the images of the day's news. Cold statistics, storylines that repeat themselves over and over, seem to mirror the act of returning home. The same motions, day after day, coats on the chair, shoes off, bags placed back in their usual spot. A performance played each night, without exception. The ritual is simple, almost meditative, but unmistakable. The world outside continues, but here in the small apartment seems to momentarily stand still. Ja, dat was het.
That's awesome.